What's up, you all? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jonay. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning watcher, thank you so much for watching. Hey, welcome to my channel where I share my life with you. In today's video, I want to talk about what it's like to work at a high school or for a school district, because I had some experience working for the school district as a whole, and I also had the opportunity to work at a high school. Let me start this video by saying that I no longer work at the high school or for the school district. I just wanted to provide this information for anyone that's interested in entering into the industry of being a teacher or an administrator for a school district. I had to take some notes because I want to make sure that I touch on plenty different aspects. I started working for the school district when I first moved to Texas. I was really just looking for work and applying for stuff on Indeed, and it happened to be one of the things I applied for, and they called me back pretty fast. And I can say that the interview process was really easy, and so you had to do a background check, an interview, and then a training that was 8 hours long. But other than that, the interview process to become a substitute was so easy, super straightforward, and it was also very flexible. If anyone is interested in becoming a teacher, I would definitely consider becoming a substitute first, because that way you can network and really fill it out to see if you like it. But what's great about being a substitute teacher is that it was super flexible. I think to keep my job, I literally had to work 3 days a month. So it was super flexible. They had me download this app where they had all of the different jobs that you could pick up listed. It would show you the school, the grade, the teacher's name, and the subject, depending on if it was a high school or a grade school teacher, because you know how grade school teachers, they work all day. So I really enjoyed working at the high school as a substitute. High school kids, they're just way more independent. It's easygoing, and I do take classes, so I appreciated the free time that the high schoolers gave me. As soon as they walk into their class and see that there's a sub, they literally put their headphones on and sit down, and either they're doing work from another class or talking amongst themselves. Sometimes the teacher would leave work for the students, and sometimes they just didn't. So at that point, you are just a certified babysitter. But it was great for me because I could sit at the desk all day and do homework or research for something that I needed to look up. Might I include, I did work elementary school for 1 day, but it was just a lot of work.
I don't have a headache. I'm just preparing.
The kids were like, "Can you take me to the restroom? Can you zip my pants? My shoe's untied. I need this. I need that. For me, it was a lot. And this is when I should have known that I wasn't passionate about working with kids, because they were adorable. They were so cute. But I'm just here for the daily pay. Through that, I got to experience what all the different high schools were like throughout the district. And then I got to meet some of the coaches. If you've ever been a sub, it's important to meet the coaches and stuff, and they're out all the time. They have the best schedules. Either you'll get to go home early because there's no 8th period, or you'll just sit in the office and do personal work, which was amazing. I would just go home. If I didn't have a class, I would either go sit in my car, the conference hour, I would just go sit in my car, or if I didn't have an 8th period, I would literally go home early. I'd turn in my clipboard and I'd leave. But being a substitute is a great gateway to becoming a teacher. And I say that because that was my personal experience. How I got my full-time job at the high school is through being a substitute. So towards the end of the school year, I signed up to work at one specific high school for the duration of the school year. So it may have been 30 days. And so I was like, sure. It was right around the corner from my house. And so it was easy to just go there every day. And it was a great decision because a lot of the days towards the end of the year are half days or test days. And on test days, you just sit around and you just assist the teachers passing out snacks and pencils, literally. So I'm working at this school and toward the end of the school year. Now it's 2 weeks before school ends, and the attendance clerk in the front office, she was ending her contract with the school district, and so they needed someone to fill in for her. And because I had signed up to go there every day already, they started training me how to do her job. And then through that, I met the principal, and the principal was like, oh my gosh, I like her. And so I applied for the attendance position, and I also applied for a few other admin positions. And I did the interview and stuff during the summer. The application process took so long. It took the entire summer. I think I applied a few days after school ended because working in the front office doing attendance was so fun. I really enjoyed just being in my own space with the lights on the low, on the computer, at the desk. It was a vibe. I really enjoyed it. And so I thought I would be passionate about it, but in the end, I ended up leaving. But so I applied, the application process took forever. And then I started it, and the day I started, everything kind of changed. The principal had told me one thing in the interview. She's like, I want to help you get a high up admin position. I want you to get all the experience you'll need. And so she sent me an application to a different job title. It actually had a sped job title on it, but I thought we had something going. Me and the principal, I thought we had a connection. She said she loved me, she liked me, and I didn't even know the woman. So I'm like, I'm in there. I'm gonna get my foot in the door before the school district. And because my experience as a sub was so great, I was super excited, and I believed her, obviously. But so she's telling me all this stuff, and I ended up taking on that position. The first day of school, it was already unorganized. I didn't even see the principal for my first 2 weeks working there. I went to the front office my first day working, and they're like, oh, go see, we'll call him Adam. Go see Adam, and he'll get you where you need to be. And so I'm passing out ID for 2 weeks. I guess they had a company print out the IDs for every student in the entire school the previous year. For this coming year, instead of taking pictures of all the students, which is what my school did. I don't know why they didn't do that. But so I'm passing out IDs for the first 2 weeks, and everything was so busy that I didn't really care that I didn't see the principal. At the end of the day, I would just go home. But it got to the point where I had to schedule to meet with her. I wanted to sit with her and ask her, so what's my job? What do I do here? I'm just assisting and bouncing around every day. Doing IDs is pretty fun. But I just wanted more clarity on what my job was. And she's like, let's meet on this day, but those IDs have to get done. So continue to do that until it's finished. And oh, cool. So we get near the end of doing IDs, and the front desk lady, she quits. And so Adam, the person that I've been working with or assisting this whole time, he told me, he's like, go fill in for the front desk. I'm filling in at the front desk for weeks maybe until they hired someone else. And well, they did ask me if I wanted the job, but I was just like, I have a job, right? I'm thinking I have a job. I was hired for something, or I'm thinking me and the principal, we have understanding on what I'll be doing. And so I declined the front desk position. And then the media specialist, I guess her application through the school district was taking a long time. And there was still some students that didn't have IDs. If they were new to the school district or to this specific high school, they needed to take a picture so that they'll have an ID card. So we needed her to be there. And so once they hired somebody at the front desk, they sent me to the media specialist office. And again, I was working there for maybe about a month. And it was fun. It was vibes. I've started moving my stuff in her office. I had maintenance come and paint the whole thing white, and it was vibes. The kids, they started to know that I was doing IDs and all that. This lady shows up one day, and turns out she's the principal's friend. The principal hired her to do the media specialist position. And so they put her in the media specialist office, but that's where I had been working from. And so I trained her on what I had learned and what I had been doing for maybe a week. We both worked from the same office, but there was only space for one person in that office. And I don't know this lady. She was like an older lady. She was very sweet, but it was just not much for us to talk about, honestly. And so eventually I started hanging out in the assistant principal's office because that lady in there, she was also new and she was helping me with IDs when we first started. And so I'm hanging out in there. It's cool. It's vibes. And I get called. It sounds so childish, but this is what happened. I get called to the principal's office for a meeting. And oh, great, because I'm just floating around. I was literally sitting in the teacher's lounge for hours at a time for a week and a half or so, hanging out with the assistant principal's secretary. It was vibes for me, but I still had no clarity on what my job was at this school. And so she calls me in there and she's like, oh, we need help in a few classes. Do you mind picking up, bouncing around and assisting the teachers? And of course, sure, lay out my schedule. She books my schedule first period through eighth period. And she scheduled my lunch and everything, which I was just kind of like, what the heck? I'm not a teacher. And you told me I was going to be doing admin work. I had been doing admin work up until this point, and so I had no complaints. I was a little confused, but I had no complaints. And so having classes to go to all day, I was just a little confused. And so I tried to schedule out, and a lot of the classes that she gave me, there weren't any kids in there that needed individual help. There was just a discipline problem. The teacher could not manage her classroom. So a tip for if you're interested in going into teaching, being a substitute first or watching videos or something will definitely help you have more insight on what it's like to manage a classroom. Because if you have good classroom management, you're gonna kill it at being a teacher. But if you don't, they're gonna send somebody in there like me. And I was looking around, I'm like, do they expect me to discipline these kids or take their phones? Or because that's just not me. And that's not what I signed up for. So I would just follow the teacher's lead. And if she chose to discipline them, he or she, if they chose to discipline the student, I would follow suit or assist or ask if they needed assistance. But if not, I would just let it happen, because if you're not going to manage your classroom, that's not my job. Which leads me into the pay. If the pay was worth the time and energy it would take to discipline high schoolers, maybe I would do it. But the pay as a teacher or a school district staff is so bad. I knew it was bad, I think, my entire life. Everyone knows that teachers don't make much. We all know teachers don't make much. But to experience it, I was like, I don't know. I felt like I was doing volunteer work. I felt like I was just an extra body at this campus and they can just ask me to do whatever they want, whenever they want. What was they saying? Yeah, the pay as a substitute, it was good because they pay you every Friday, direct deposit, and the daily pay was worth it. You could also get more degrees or your teaching certificate to make more money per day. And so being a substitute was so worth it. It was vibes. I always had money. Vibes were good. It was flexible. I missed it. I should have just stayed a substitute. But that was that. So eventually, don't tell anyone, but eventually I would just hang out in the teacher's lounge instead of going to my scheduled classes, because I would communicate with the teachers and make sure that they had my phone number and if they needed me to just call me, because I was feeling pretty useless and I was like, I'm not here to learn math. I'm not here to learn ninth grade chemistry or English, which obviously it would have been nice. Or if you're interested in being a teacher,
Dingle bongle, dingle dangle, yickety doo, yickety da, ping pong, lippy tappy too-ta.
that's a good experience. But for me, it just kind of started to feel like a waste of time. And so I would honestly just stay occupied and help where I was needed, as far as the assistant principal's suite and my teachers. If they needed something printed, I would help them print. And it was great. Let me revisit my notes. Let's talk about the students and the staff. So as far as the students, working with high school students was a really good experience. I really enjoyed it. Besides the fact that you're gonna get asked 5 times a day, ma'am,
do you have snacks? Do you have $1? Can I go here? Can I go there?
the questions that they ask were really repetitive, but once you get to know them, they're so down to earth, and when they start to have real conversations with you, it's a good experience. They'll ask about college or about prom dresses, and you really get involved in what's happening in their life. And I think that that is the beauty of being a teacher, is interacting with the students and really having an impact on their life, because they see you as a super adult. So they really value and consider what you tell them. As far as the staff, so this is information I think all teachers need to know. So the staff, as far as facility, other teachers, paraprofessionals, and all those staff, they're super chill. Everybody gets along, everybody's on vibes, everybody's just trying to get by, figure it out, maintain their classroom, and get all their paperwork done. Everybody's so sweet. People bring donuts. The pay is trash, but the benefits of being a teacher,
There's always food trucks, there's always coffee, there's always snacks.
they be giving free supplies and stuff. There's so many benefits and gestures of appreciation for teachers. But on the admin side of things, like, they're so fake. And I say that all teachers need to know this, because at first I thought I was tripping. And when you enter a new work environment, you don't talk about people, or it's work. You just keep things to yourself, you keep it pushing, get paid, be nice, and move on with the rest of your life. But eventually somebody mentioned it to me, as far as amongst the teaching staff. We have an admin meeting, and the conversation that were had after the admin meeting, my mind just opened up to so many. I was so relieved that it wasn't just a me problem. I thought I was tripping, or I thought I was just around here being treated like crap and it was just me. But I think that's why all of the staff are so close, because they're bonded by hating the admin team. It's just so cliquey. There's admin and counselors. Well, there's admin, then there's counselors, and then there's also the teaching staff, and also facilities. Everybody just hangs out with who they hang out with, but admin is never to be trusted, especially with how the principal flipped on me like that. I don't know how I imagine the situation playing out in my head, but something about it was just unfair. But my overall message for this video is that being a substitute is great experience if you're interested in becoming a teacher. It's a great way to experience different schools throughout the school district, and you also get to meet different staff and the dynamic at the different schools before applying and getting a full-time salaried contracted position with the school district for one specific school. And you also get to see if you like it. My experience was a little rocky once I got my contracted position, but my overall experience between being a sub and a full-time employee at the school district, it was pretty good. The people were pretty nice, And I can really see if someone is passionate about educating kids and impacting their life, why they choose to be teachers. What else? Safety. Overall, I felt pretty safe at the school. They have security, they have guards, like inside and out, driving around, and inside walking around as well. So I never really felt unsafe at the school. I do understand the difficulties and how dangerous it can be being a staff at a school, which is unfortunate, but I do think that the school district took many measures and all the precautions that it needs to secure the school, because the behaviors of some kids, you never know what's gonna happen. There's a lot of action that happens at a school. If you're into reality TV and drama and action, gossip, if you're into that kind of thing, like that, this is the job for you. Because there's something every day at a school. Comment down below if you want working at a high school story times. And I don't even, maybe some of that information is confidential, but I could tell you some stories where I was like, oh my gosh, the baddest kid at my school would never. You will be amazed at the things happening at a high school. But so safety is a topic I wanted to talk about. And then the last thing I have written on here is the days off plus summer. I'll say that they definitely make it worth it. You get plenty of days off. They have PD days, which is staff development, or just days off in general, like President's Day. You have your summer vacation, spring, Thanksgiving, summer break. Oh, I said summer break already. I meant spring break. You have plenty of days off. So you're not getting paid much, but if you're strategic and you don't have a full busy life, you definitely can come up with some side hustles to do on the days that you have off, because being a teacher, you will have maybe not free time, because it's pretty exhausting physically, mentally. Having to interact with people all day, every day is exhausting. But you do have plenty of days off throughout the school year. For me, I would like count days to the next personal development day. I'd be like 30 more days until my next day off. Only a few more months until spring break. I feel like those kids are never at school nowadays. They give so many off days. But, well, that's enough rambling. I hope this video provided some value. That was my experience working with the school district. I don't necessarily have any advice for how I would approach things differently. I think I would do things exactly how I did it. If I was passionate about being a teacher, I do think that I would have stayed. I just ended up getting a different job offer in an industry that I was more interested in, which I'll be talking about in our next video. But that was my experience, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you all later. Bye.